and the press that's so against them. The current administration seems to be hell-bent on getting those guns out of the hands of average Americans.
Tom says the agents were cordial and professional, but still felt invaded and now has lost nearly a whole day's revenue.
I got 30 minutes of operating time in.
It is pretty obvious at this point that this is actually how they intend on doing it, which is something that I thought about a while back, and it's also something that, quite frankly, I felt was going to happen. And also, to go on top of this, I also said that it more than likely would eventually backfire, as I'll be explaining in this video here. But as we go through this, let's go ahead and take a look at the full report. And also something else too, I'm going to be leaving this video right here in the description box, as well as the links to actually what happened with this entire, let's just say, IRS raid on a gun store in Montana, and we'll come back on the
gun shop owner says he was targeted by federal agents Wednesday. In fact, he says he's been in the crosshairs of the government for a couple years now.
7:30 I came in and they pulled in behind me with 20 heavily armed agents.
Tom Van Hoos says for 2 years his Highwood Creek Outfitters gun shop has been the subject of surveillance by state and federal agencies, including the FBI, OSHA, Homeland Security, State of Montana, and now the IRS.
And the fact that they think we make so much money as a gun business that they had to come investigate all the thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, whatever it is we supposedly absconded with. Anybody that knows the margins in the gun business knows they're not that high.
Van Hoos says all he was told is that his business had been reported. He doesn't know by who. He thinks it's part of a nationwide pattern and feels it's political.
I can only assume that because of the style of weapons that we have and the press that's so against them, the current administration seems to be hell-bent on getting those guns out of the hands of average Americans.
Tom says the agents were cordial and professional, but still felt invaded and now has lost nearly a whole day's revenue.
I got 30 minutes of operating time in and made one $16 sale.
Van Hoos says his shop has a good relationship with the ATF, which was also present. He says because his shop carries fun guns like AR-15s and AK-47s, their level of licensing draws more scrutiny.
We have a reputation as dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's because there's so much legal fun to be had. It's just not worth doing things that are going to get you in trouble.
Cascade County Sheriff Jesse Slaughter says despite previous legislative attempts, there is no law stating the sheriff must be notified prior to any such investigation. The Great Falls Police Department was notified of the investigation and provided security. An IRS spokesperson was only able to confirm the agency was at Highwood Creek on official business. In Great Falls, Tim McGonigal, MTN
Not
News.
long after I released a 4-part series on basically guns and why it is that it's a logistical nightmare for the federal government to actually take them. Of course, seeing how as we have over 400 million in this country and we have roughly 90 some odd million gun owners in this country that we know of. Next thing you know, the federal government obviously decides to raid a store in Montana. They've been looking at for over a year, this, that, and the other. Obviously a breach of someone's Fourth Amendment rights, but then again, at the same time, the original reporting on this, and by the way, the details are still somewhat murky to a certain degree, but I'm going to go ahead and assume the worst, and saying that they weren't looking for this guy's financial records. They were looking for the gun records, the purchases, the FFL forms that, quite frankly, firearms dealerships, when you actually sell one, assuming that this FFL forms were actual literal paper forms, that's what they were looking for. Now, guys, I did a video on the 87,000 IRS agents a while back. I'll try to link that in the description box too, and you got to see exactly who it was that they were recruiting. People who were, let's just say, not exactly what you would call actual honest-to-God cops, soldiers, boots on the ground. Obviously, people that you more than likely would not be fearful of. And of course, as this gentleman mentioned, the ATF was there as well. Now, there's been several reports of the ATF going around looking for gun braces, trying to take solvent traps, things that are actually already protected by the Constitution and have already been settled on. But you're probably going to see more lawsuits come after this case here because obviously the federal government was in the wrong. I said before that what they would probably try to do is that they would probably try to just create nuisances, problems. And then, of course, they then take the frickin' records as it has been originally reported, assuming that that is the case, and it makes you wonder what exactly are they doing with these records. Well, the first thing that comes to your mind is obviously gun confiscation, and you would be 100% correct. But here's the thing, though. Who's actually going to be trying to confiscate the weapons? ATF, FBI, law enforcement? I talked about in the last video that more than likely law enforcement would not get involved. Even at some point in time, law enforcement, especially sheriff's departments, would probably at some point in time begin to side with those who live in their communities. The reason why is because small towns, quite frankly, everybody knows one another, and even some of your bigger police departments that are not what you call Chicago or New York or whatnot, they're probably not going to be able to do this too, because obviously it's a risk. So it makes you wonder who's next. Military. I discussed that too, talked about how it is that that right there was probably not going to be happening. But then again, though, I didn't exactly go into full detail. One of the main reasons why is because, well, if something was to happen, like, say, a CW or a Civil War or a revolution or something like that, more than likely the military, especially the Marine Corps, will be deployed overseas. The reason why is obviously to protect U.S. assets. The Army, on the other hand, would probably be here, but more than likely you would have a massive mutiny. So that leaves me with one other conclusion. Seeing how the government agencies are not big enough to actually pull this off on a mass scale, it leads me to one other conclusion. I believe, seeing how it is that we have a president who is currently bought and paid for by a nation with a red flag and yellow stars on it, I believe that this individual is giving these records to overseas entities. Why would they do that? Well, go ahead and call me crazy, but I still believe that the overall ultimate end game is to get physical control of the United States one way or another. Ask yourself a question. Why the hell do we have this border crisis? How many of these people coming in are actually from South America? How many of these people who are coming in are actually from Latin America as a whole? That includes Mexico. How many of them are? Chances are there's probably a few people slipping through the cracks, probably some of the radical type that are coming in here. And when you factor that in, you factor in all these Chinese agents and whatnot that are actually being brought in, the people that, quite frankly, you think would probably be actually working for the CCP, then it sounds to me like it's pretty obvious. They're aiming for the western side of the United States, where at least one nation is, while another one will more than likely be aiming for the eastern side. I'll probably do a project on this, but I'll more than likely put it on the Claymore channel, seeing how it is that we're switching this content over to veteran stories here in the next couple of weeks. The office is about to get done. I've already started cleaning some things out. The books have already been taken down, but we'll talk about that more here in a second. I think that if these people go door to door with this type of thing, they go door to door, actually go physically door to door, what's going to happen is that somebody, somewhere, it's bound to happen within the first few hundred attempts, somebody's going to fight back. Next thing you know, you see one person fight back. Next thing you know, it becomes contagious. Next thing you know, people begin to fight back. And next thing you know, after that right there, the federal government realizes that, quite frankly, it cannot do it on its own. So what do? You bring in other entities. As I've said before, it more than likely, this entire thing is probably going to sound like a bit of a rant, or it's going to sound a little bit incoherent, but trust me, I believe that there is a method to these people. Something else that really bothers me, because this right here is going to become much more frequent. In that particular news clipping, in that particular news setting, the guy said somebody called it in. Somebody called it in. A neighbor, a Karen. I did say in a previous video that I did on Geraldo Rivera's very, let's just say, god-awful take on AR-15s. I did say that really, in reality, the Second Amendment of the Constitution wasn't really designed actually to protect you so much from the government, but from stupid people who vote the very bad government in. I think you guys just saw proof of that, if that is the case. If somebody, some Karen, called in and made a complaint about the store, then obviously something happened. But then again, though, I also highly doubt that the ATF and the IRS would respond to quote-unquote one phone call. Chances are they've probably been looking at this place for a while, and obviously they're looking at other facilities. Makes you wonder exactly how far they're going to be willing to go. But here's something else, too, that needs to be said. And I oftentimes just keep coming right back to that same comment, that same thing that Barack Obama said. And I will find that clip and I will find that speech, because I know it was said multiple times, especially when I worked as a gun salesman myself. America has got a gun problem. America's got a gun problem is what he keeps on saying. Meanwhile, this past weekend in a southwestern Chicago suburb, 20 were shot, 1 killed in a Juneteenth celebration, but yet we don't talk about these very blue areas with these extremely strict gun laws where the crime rates and the murder rates just happen to be through the roof. You're poking the bear. That's what you're doing. You're poking the bear. However, to me, and go ahead and say that I'm jumping to conclusions. It's okay. You can disagree with me in the comments. Please leave it in there. But it is my personal opinion that what the hell is going on is that this information is being given to overseas entities. The thing is this right here. You can't disarm the American people here. After a while, it would lead to an incident. So what happens next? Somebody's got to step in. I've been thinking for a very long time that these people have been inadvertently, or not inadvertently, but these people have been trying to pin some form of human rights violation on the United States. I mean, think about it really quick. Think about this really quick. It's the most hypocritical people, people who are the most hypocritical that accuse you of something. China, of course, the Uyghur Muslims. By the way, this video right here will more than likely get hit in the algorithm, so therefore it probably won't take off. So just know that's one of those videos that I'm making to keep the algorithm solid, not just to inform you, but to obviously keep this algorithm solid so that way when the essays get released, it can actually reach people. But here's the thing that really gets me. Go back to when Obama basically said that America's got a gun problem and acted like he couldn't fix it. It's almost like he was trying to say, why can't you guys step in? Why can't NATO step in? Why can't the United Nations step in? Got a president right now that's currently owned by China. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. But obviously these people are trying to poke the bear, and they're probably looking for some form of incitement or inciting incident. Shortly after, Blinken went to China, they made this very interesting comment.
As interference in China's internal affairs, we have expressed our staunch opposition to such interference, and we will take firm actions in response. On human rights, we hope that the United States will do better on human rights. China has made steady progress in human rights, and the fact is that there are many problems within the United States regarding human rights, which is admitted by the U.S. itself as well. The United States has also said that countries can't rely on force in today's world to resolve the challenges we face. And it is a failure to use various means to topple the so-called authoritarian states. And the challenges facing the United States in human rights are deep-seated. They did not just emerge over the past 4 years, such as Black Lives Matter. It did not come up only recently. So we do hope that for our two...
Not to mention the fact they also anal swab Blinken and the other people. That's actually kind of funny to tell you the truth. But, yeah. They're going to try to find something to use against us. I'm not saying it's gun owners or whatnot, but when you factor in that we have an election year coming up here, and let's be honest, race wars only occur once every 4 years, and you're probably going to see another one. I'm pretty sure during some type of election or something like that, the temptation's obviously going to be there to try to say you guys abuse black people or you guys abuse gays or this, that, and the other. I'm pretty sure that that right there is coming. I understand this video right here has been a bit of a tangent, but I'm pretty sure that this incident right here will probably lead to more incidents, which will probably lead to some form of incitement and some type of ensuing incident. Just saying, okay? YouTube, don't strike this video. Just a feeling, okay? Not a fact, nor an avocation. Guys, Short Timer Prepping Gear Issue 33, John Claymore here. If you like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. If you think I've earned your subscription, please hit the subscribe button and please hit the notifications bell. And I'll see you guys later.